Hi there, all you creators. I have another creative project to show you today. This is a raw edge fabric applique piece that I worked up, and it will be a pattern in my Etsy store. But what I'd like to do today, more than promote the pattern, but I'd like to show you how easy this is to do. I have some girlfriends and some people in a creative group, and they're kind of almost real shy about trying to attempt this, but it is so easy. And what I hope to do today is show you how I would put one of these pieces together in real life. Now, I don't know how far I'll get into it, but what you'll be able to see is how easy it is to get started and to do it. You could have this whole thing collaged down with some glue within, 40 minutes, 45, even an hour if you're slow. And then you start stitching and turn it into some handsome little piece for whatever you'd want to use it for. I don't know exactly what I'll do with this piece, but I'm thinking I will, hide some of this and just put it on a piece with no border. There's a method that you can bind something which is called with a facing, and that way the border doesn't show. I wanted a more simple piece. And one more idea I had, and I think I will add to this, and I might as well show you now, is to put a little placard somewhere here, and as if I do it with fabric, and I like words on things. So I was thinking about, I'm just tearing up a piece of a cardstock or an index card so you can tell what I mean. Pretend like this is a piece of fabric, and I would just rest it somewhere right here. I'd probably have it put on a border. Whoops, going off the paper. And then just embroidery the word thankful. And rest it as if it's part of the design. So you could do something like that. Never forget about your words and your little insert placards. So what would I do to get started? Oh, I better cover this first. In case you've never seen any of my other videos, let me tell you what will come in your kit if you order this from me from Etsy. The first thing is you will get 3 layers here. I've got a piece of muslin, I've got a piece of flannel, and then on top of that flannel, I laid my background piece. Now I'm going to do the next one just slightly different, but basically what you get is the sandwich. Because I like to stitch on more than one layer, it keeps the stitches to the surface. It gives you that little puffy, ever so slightly quilty look, and I just love the look of it better than a piece of fabric that's flopping around. So let's move that off to the side. And for the sake of the camera, I went ahead and laid this piece down. But for this sandwich, what I have is a piece of pellon, a piece of flannel, which acts like batting, and a piece of muslin. Now, I really wouldn't even have to have this piece of muslin. As a matter of fact, let's take it off. That you will get one in your kit, but I don't need it. That's what you'll trace your placement pattern onto. Let me show you what that looks like. I'll get this spread out here. And in your kit, you'll get a big assortment of fabrics, and you will get this shape and placement guide. Now, this is just basically a rough idea, and you can always check back with it and make sure that you're getting your pieces cut out relatively correct and then placing them. And it's just a guide. You will get a feel for it after you get started, and you will be able to just go great guns on your own. This one today, I'm going to free cut, just like I free cut this one. That's how I ended up with this pattern. I just sat down and started free cutting, laying them down. When I was sure what I had, I started lifting them up and put a little bit of glue under each one. I'll talk more about that in a minute. So, I found the cutest piece. This is a piece of Moda. It was a gorgeous piece of fabric. I found it at the thrift store the other day. It's like chicken wire. You could say chain link, but I want it in my mind to represent chicken wire. So that'll be my background. And then what to put down here in the foreground. So just so you know that you have the freedom of creativity, you can put anything you want. But I happened to see this and I thought, well, darn, that would be cute as the foreground, and then your pumpkin will look like it's sitting on the ground. Everything's impressionistic, you know. Let's see if this is wide enough. Yes, it is. So what I'm going to do is just rip a little piece of this. I love raw edges. You can get kind of anal about it if you need to, or obsessive compulsive, but this is what I like, and I'm just going to snip and rip. And I even have a little iron here. I can't stand those curled under edges, so there's no need in fighting them. Plus, I'm going to show you how to use the glue stick or a glue pen or Elmer School Glue container, and that dries that, the iron dries that up really quick. So we'll just place that on there. And it does overlap, which is good, because I don't want any white peeking out. And let's call that our foreground. So just looking at my pattern, I'll put it so you can see it. I'm going to grab some fabric out of my laundry basket, which I have sitting right here beside me. And I had this really strange ombre type piece of fabric, found it at the thrift store. And I bought it because it has all the primary and secondary, some tertiary colors in it too. So I'm going to find a spot in it that kind of looks gold, orange, whatever, and I'm going to just cut right into it. Because a piece of fabric like this, I will never use this for anything, you know, it's other than fabric collage. So I'm going to cut a hunk out of this. Actually, I think I'll do enough to do 2 pieces, and I'll show you why. And I'm going to make sure I have my little hunk of fabric big enough, because this massive piece of fabric's too much for me to handle right here in front of you guys. So I got to get a little piece that I can maneuver. Okay, now I see, this is what I look at, things I look for. This looks great to me already. You know why? Because there's some blue-greens down here, and there's a little bit of blue-green here. And I'm just going to press this out enough to handle it so it doesn't fight me the whole way. And I'm looking at the approximate size and shape of this first piece in the middle. So I'm just going to fold my fabric like this, and I'll fold it like this, and to get my initial shape, I'm just going to cut. Now, I don't like wasting fabric, and you might say, oh my God, you're wasting that big piece of fabric. I have so much of that one that I'm not going to worry about it right now. And for the sake of this video, let's get on with it. Okay, so this could end up being kind of a green type, gold type pumpkin. Doesn't have to be orange. Now, the problem is finding something else for the next sections of the pumpkin. And I'm going to be brave and use this. And because the next piece on either side is cut out differently, I'm going to cut two of them out at the same time. I fold it over. Now, once you get your rough shape cut out, you can tweak it. You can tweak the height and everything. Or you can take a piece of Pellon and trace exactly what I gave you. Now, that's a little bit short, so all I'll do is shorten that one. So this could be this piece on this side. That's a little bit big anyway. So let's just free cut it right now and get it a little bit more organic. We'll just cut it down to size. There you go. And then I'll be able to nest this up on this side and put the other piece on the other side. Now, if you feel like the colors in your fabric aren't quite right, you can adjust that by adding flosses of the color that you think it should be. All right, and I still think that center piece is a little bit fat, so I'm going to cut it down a little bit more. Now, I used to be think I have to be perfect, symmetrical, blah, 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 blah. I had a very hard time getting out of that frame of mind. But when I did, my artwork became a lot more attractive because nothing in nature is perfect. And art should have some personality and some movement to it. Okay, so we have our first three sections there. Now, one side of this pumpkin has 3 sections additional other than the middle, and the other side has 2. Let me see if I can find something else that is going along in this vein. I have this piece, and I think since it's darker, that would make a nice one for the one on the very outside. If I want to continue in the gold vein, this is a nice one, and maybe we'll just do that. So let me rip off a hunk here, and then I'm going to show you one more trick. I'm here just looking for this. Here's a little novelty print. That wouldn't be bad either. But look what it looks like on the back side. That works even better. And as far as this one goes, because it's so bright, could we use the back side of that? Well, that one turns into brown. So we lose the gold. So we don't want to do that. But many of your fabrics, you can just simply use the back side to get what you want. And that's what I did on the first one that I showed you. So I could use 2 more pieces, and let me fold it. And I'm going to fold it again. And then I'm just going to rough cut what could be the next sections. I don't always hit it perfect. I really don't. But most of the time, it's just a matter of a snip, snip, and it turns it into exactly what I want it to be. And, yeah, that can work. So you can see what it's starting to turn into. I'll round these corners off and make sure there's nothing sharp or sticky out of there. Now, that little piece in the middle with the dappled green in it, I'm really liking that. So I'm going back to this piece and I'm going to cut one more section out of that. And I'll just do that freehand right here like I would if you weren't watching me. And let's see. Everything is, well, we'll figure it out in the end, won't we? Okay, that works. So I have 3 sections here and 2 over here, but I don't like the shape of that. So I'm going to add another section over there. And lo and behold, I'll bet I have just enough of this piece to get one more section out of this ombre type color. This is a real piece of, okay, I'll think of it in a minute. Batik. I can tell by the way it's cutting. I didn't think it was in the beginning, but it is. Batik has a unique weave to it. All right. Okay. I like my pumpkin so far. And I like it on the leaves. Because after I stitch around it and add other things, it's gonna look, that will look so cute. All right, what do we need next? We need a stem. So because this is a dark background, maybe we should use kind of a light beige type something for the stem. We don't want it to disappear into the background all by its, you know, and not even be able to see it. There's a light color that let's work with that. Or is that shaped wrong? These are all scraps that I got from leftover projects or people give me. Oh, I found a good one. Okay, here's a goldy brown. Let's see if we can get that stem out of this piece. And so it won't fight me, I'm going to just press it down a little bit. And I'm just going to cut out a rough stem shape. And if it's not quite right, I will use the scrap of that and do it again and add to it. That's all right. There was enough fabric there. So now that I'm getting close to the top of my piece, what I will do is move my whole pumpkin down. But this is great for starters. So let's move the pumpkin down. And then I'll get them just perfect before I start adding dots of glue. So no need to worry about it right now. I'll lift these up and place the stem under there. And there you have it. Let's leave a little bit more negative space right in there. So I'll tilt it just a little bit. And then what comes next on our pattern? Well, we have leaves. I free cut these leaves, so I'm going to free cut some just so you can see it. And I'll need to have something that's anywhere from, I like them to look like they're old and dying because on a pumpkin vine it will. And there's no need in competing with any more greens. If I can find the right thing, or a very, very muted green, I can put, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. I was going to tell you something, but let's wait a minute. Let me see what I've got. Now, this is a strong piece. I could use that, but it has such a definite check to it. This one would be nice. And then, let's see if I can find another one. You can even go into the browns, and you can even use printed fabric. Look at this. But let's see. I don't know if I have the proper greens right at hand. Now we're back to this batik. What if I picked just the right spot in this batik and got a, oh yeah, I'm kind of liking that idea, at least for a couple of them, because these colors all blend together, and I love the ones that are really just nondescript, like right here or here. Oh boy. All right. So now you'll know that that's what I'll do. I'll freehand cut my leaves when I find the right fabric, and I'll place them approximately where I want it. But for now, let me show you how to get this down so you can begin to stitch. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to just lift up the center one and apply some glue. Now I use 2 or 3 different kinds of glue, and I brought samples of that so you can see it. I have this glue pen by Sewline, and it comes with refills, and it is a fabric glue, and there it is on the tip. It's just glue. It's kind of a thick pasty glue, and all it takes is a dot of it, and you can touch your fabric. I use this a lot for needle turned applique. But my old friend and go-to is Elmer School Glue. And it needs to be the school glue, not the all-purpose glue. Because the school glue will dry and you can put your needle right through it. The all-purpose glue ends up to be a little bit too much. And then, of course, you can use the Elmer's glue in the bottle, which you would just give it 1 or 2 or 3 little dots. But for the sake of this, let's just use this little pen, and I'm just going to put a couple dots there. Now, while I'm at it, I'm going to lift up my foreground and put a couple dots of glue so the foreground stays stuck to the background. And let's do that on both sides. Just a couple little swipes is enough. It'll dry pretty quick by itself, but I also run the iron over it. So I've got this one down. Let's see. Oh yeah, still it's sticking. Well, not up here. And let's go ahead and stick down the bottom part of the stem. Put enough on there that you get an adhesion. And then I will start right here and just wiggle this and realize where I need to put. Now I made a boo-boo there, curled my fabric under. And all I want to make sure is that the top and the bottom are tucked in where they're supposed to be. And then this one would be next. Not enough glue there. It does take a second for it to start drying, and then it gets really sticky. Okay, so let's tuck this one under. And the top looks fine, but you see I have a sharp little corner down here on this section, and all I'm going to do is round it out. And don't think it has to be perfect. That's what really takes away, it actually takes away from your artwork. So I'm going to put that right there, and then I'm going to wiggle this one until it's in a position that I know it's underneath that section. And there you go. Now the stem, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get these strings off first, and go ahead and put some glue right there and lay that down. And all I have to do now is adhere these pieces. And it's hard for me to work under this camera because I can't always see where things are. I have to lean way in. but I want you to see more than me. And put it back in there. Now, if you make a mistake with your glue, you can pull it off and reposition it. It's not like a fusible web or something where you can't pull it back off. It's pretty well forgiving. There goes that bottom piece again. Straighten that out. Put this one down. And then let's glue this one. Okay. All right, for you beginners, there you are. There's your beginning. And I'm happy with it because, number one, I can imagine what it's going to look like when I get done, because the threads are going to add so much. And I always keep that in the back of my mind. And also, I have a special way I'm going to execute my threads on this one. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. I'm going to put a lot of curly cues, you know, whirly twirlies, as my girlfriend calls them. I'm going to embroidery, you know, some spirals and things like that on this pumpkin. And I'm real happy with that. And when I choose my colors to do my swirls with, I can bring all those colors together even more than they are now. They are totally fine with me, but in case you feel like they're not cohesive, you can do something like that. Now, I should have brought something over here with me, but what I'm going to do before I close off here is I'm going to show you how I would free cut a leaf. So I just whacked a little piece of fabric off of the corner. Believe me, I don't throw anything away that's bigger than a postage stamp. So if I cut too much fabric and I have big scraps, it'll go in a container where I'll be using it for something else. So if I have a piece like that, I will just, in my mind, I did a pumpkin leaf study many years ago. Then I just redid it, and I realized there's more pictures out there on the internet than there used to be. But when I did my pumpkin leaf study years ago, I realized they basically are this kind of shape. The ones I was studying way back then, I was doing a Thanksgiving project for a scrapbook company, and I don't want something quite that exaggerated, but what I'm going to do is just cut, and I'm going to wibble wobble my scissors. I don't want this leaf looking too perfect. Pumpkin leaves are fairly curly, and therefore the edges of them okay, there, I've got it. So let's put it up here. Well, one of the bigger leaves goes over here, so it could go right there. And I will keep doing that until I have about, I'll make sure I have at least 3 to 5 leaves. This pattern calls for 5 leaves, but I want to take the time to find a brown type. Hey, maybe the back of this one. It could work. But I'll leave you there for now, and that's how simple it is to do fabric applique, especially if you have a pattern and if you want to use your Pellon. You'll get a big piece of Pellon in my kits, And that's your tracing. What you do is trace it onto your Pellon with a ballpoint pen. Don't try any other pen. A ballpoint pen will roll over Pellon very smoothly, and then you rough cut and lay that on the fabric that you want and cut out the exact shape only one time. And then you have your Pellon piece that's cut out and your piece of fabric. Now on this pattern, I put a lot of dotted lines, and that's just to imply where you could slow stitch, some of the vines or whatever method you want to use to execute it. I'll go back to mine, and what I did was I made my viney twirly things out of some strands of wool. I pick up wool, or you might call it crewel wool, but just wool threads at the thrift store, and they come in those kits. Thousands of people buy kits and they never finish them. So when they donate them to the thrift store, they'll have their original canvas there, but then they'll have a big wad of whatever these wool threads are in whatever color the pattern had called for. And people never get around to finishing them. So if I can buy a pattern for $1, I don't care about the pattern, but I harvest all the wools out of it. So I have a pretty big collection. All right, that's how to get started in fabric collage. If you would like one of my kits, the last thing to say about it is you will get a variety of fabrics, and then you can choose which one you want to use for your pumpkin, your leaf, your foreground, background. The only thing that doesn't come in it is whatever you want to back it with or border it with. But when you get one of my kits, you're almost ready to start sewing. And give that a chance. If you just need more ideas, go to my Etsy site and look. And just look at all the photographs up close, how I executed things, and that might give you some ideas. Okay, thanks for watching, and so long for today from beautiful northeastern Ohio. We have a quintessential late summer day, just the tips of a few maple trees starting to turn, but it is gorgeous. Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you're at. And if you enjoyed this or it inspired you, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, do that. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.